It's easy to wander around a supermarket and forget about all the various commodities that have been used to produce some of the final goods you see in front of you. One example of an input is vanilla. Vanilla is an extremely popular spice, and it's found in everything from chocolate to perfume, as well as ice cream, of course. But where does it come from? And what's the market for vanilla like? Well, in this video, we're going to go over prices, production, as well as the market. When you think about markets going astray, vanilla's probably one of the last things that comes to mind. But between 2019 and 2020, the world actually faced a shortage of vanilla. Prices rose from a few years earlier where it was trading around $50 to $60 a kilo, right up to $500 to $600 a kilo. Price rises meant that people who used vanilla in their production process either had to increase prices or remove their products from the shelves. So how did we get to this point? Well, let's start with supply. Between 80 and 85% of the world's vanilla comes from Madagascar. For this small country, vanilla makes up around 20% of their exports, and this is worth around $600 million. The thing you might not know about vanilla is it's actually quite difficult to grow. It's a vine that takes around 4 years to mature. Some people can do it in a little bit less if they have the right cuttings, but it's generally harder. You only get 1 day per year when the flowers are open, and you have to pollinate them by hand. It takes 9 months for the beans to develop, and these must also be harvested by hand, but only when the beans are perfectly ripe, so you maximize the vanillin content. As an aside, vanillin is the compound that gives vanilla its flavor. The harvest occurs all over the country, but generally begins in May in the north and goes right through to August in the middle of the country. The beans are then blanched, sweated, and gradually dried in the sun in order to produce the aromatic spice. You need 600 hand-pollinated blossoms to yield about 6 kilos of green beans, which is roughly 1 kilogram of dried vanilla bean. The price of vanilla was not always set by market forces of supply and demand. It was actually once set by the government, which formed a kind of vanilla cartel with a few other nearby countries. Now, the cartel asked quite a high price for its vanilla, and because of this, during the 1980s, buyers started to look elsewhere for substitutes. This included cheaper, poorer quality version of vanilla found in Indonesia. Because of this, Madagascar eventually removed its price fixing regime, but by this time, many of the big food giants such as Unilever, Mondelez, and Nestle had increased their use of synthetic vanillin, which can be produced from reliable sources such as wood pulp and petroleum. The people who suffered the most from this policy, of course, were the Madagascan vanilla farmers, who earned a mere pittance, and many of them had to exit the vanilla business. Now, even though farmers were leaving and the supply of vanilla was going down, the availability of the synthetic vanillin meant that prices for natural vanilla also stayed low. But then, public opinion shifted, and suddenly there was an appetite for all things natural. As demand for natural vanilla beans started to climb, the farmers' fortune reversed. In 2015, Nestle announced plans to only use natural ingredients within 5 years, which takes us to 2020. Many other rivals followed suit. All of a sudden, we had a situation where demand was getting ahead of supply. The 4-year lag between when you plant a vanilla vine and when it matures was too long to keep up with these commitments. Coupled with all the natural elements that go into farming, such as extreme weather, pest and disease outbreaks, along with exporters who can hoard inventory and speculate on further price rises, has meant that prices remain very high. Now, while this is great for the farmers in Madagascar, it's obviously not been without challenges. The crops are now incredibly valuable, which has an incentive for crime, and theft of vanilla crops has been on the rise. Other farmers have had to harvest their beans early, which means the vanillin content is not as good, which reduces the overall quality of the product. The risk being for farmers that if they keep reducing the quality, consumers will seek substitutes once more. But next time you're walking down the aisles of a supermarket, keep an eye out for those products containing vanilla, and think of those Madagascan farmers toiling it out in the sun, waiting for the perfect bean to form. Thanks for tuning in. If you liked this short economic summary, make sure you check out these other videos on Market Mayhem, hit like and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.